You're now listening to Vices and Vultures, a podcast on cultures. Welcome back to the Unpacked segment of Vices and Vultures, where we share from our collection of solo interviews done by the co-hosts. What's going on, everybody? This is A2. So, fun fact as of this recording date, in case you didn't know, I am the voice of another podcast, namely that of the CS Podcast. The CS Podcast originated from a contemporary music school in Long Island, New York, called Center Stage Music Center. Center Stage, or CS, is special to its immediate community, and as it grows, I have been extended the opportunity to narrate some of the stories that come outside of it. The following episode is an excerpt from a recent CS Podcast interview and contains some of these stories, arguably among the best I've collected this year. Of course, my association with music is strong if you know me at all, and I'm a big fan of the uniqueness of this conversation. I sat down with Kevin Theodore, an LA-based producer, back in the winter of this year to talk about his involvement with music production. Kevin is a former CS instructor and has a pretty incredible rap sheet already. And yes, speaking of rap, he's involved in a lot of it, from producing a good portion of Funhouse Mirror by Marlon Craft to live sessions with Anderson .Paak, and performing on the final album to be released by Mac Miller in his lifetime. Here are the excerpts of these stories, all of which you will hear on episode 2 of the CS Podcast.
I mean, the craziest recent one was like, so I ended up playing Wurlitzer on this Mac Miller track called Come Back to Earth. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty amazing experience, like getting to work with him, and I feel like working with him like really opened that's like one of the key moments that like really opened my mind to like just what you can do like with a composition, even like within something like hip hop or rap or something like that, and just a certain attention and sensitivity that he had to like each individual part and like all the instruments. It was like it was pretty inspiring and like wow, it was incredible. So and he was just such a nice dude too.
And that's what I keep hearing. So talking specifically about the song arrangement, when you were playing Wurlitzer on there, which is like keys basically, are you adding your own touch to it, or is he arranging it so detailed that he's telling you like kind of like where to go, or like
there'd be certain moments like if I played something that he really liked, he'd be like, oh, you know, definitely play that again there, you know what I mean? Gotcha. But for the most part, no, like they just told me the chord structure of it, and like cool. I probably listened through it twice, and then we went into the room and just like kind of played through it. The one really fun fact about that evening was so the sustain pedal was broken.
Wow.
It did not work. So, and you have to play all this lush stuff. So it's like, okay, how do I do this without a sustain pedal? So I had to go, it was like legato to the max. Like everything was like itsy bitsy spider and all over the keys, man.
Your fingers literally stuck to the keyboard.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Wow. So along with like the nerves of like doing like, this is like, at this point, this is like my first like major record label session ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? But also the sustain pedal's broken now. So it was just like, I had to like really just do what I could to just keep it together mentally. Right. And also,
get one shot at that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. So, and I'm glad like I came out of there and it went well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nah, man, it's fantastic.
Appreciate it, man.
I even listen to it. Like there's this guy on YouTube named Slater. He does mixes of songs slowed in reverb. Okay. So I hear it on there.
I think I heard that. I think I remember seeing that around too.
What's your first reaction to stuff like that?
It was crazy. I mean, the thing that messed me up the most, I was getting ready to hop on a train to do a session at Universal, and on my way there, I hear a guy in the subway playing the song on guitar.
Wow.
That's insane to me. It's like it just became so much of a standard.
It travels far.
That like people are just like doing covers of it like that. Like that was really nuts to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially I remember the day that I found out about his passing, and I remember I messaged you about this a couple weeks ago. There's a shop in Farmingdale that has this thing on vinyl.
The vinyl, yeah.
And it's just, thinking about the stories that are tied to it, not only like now, but even before personally, it's just like, man, like this thing travels very, very far.
Yeah, man.
But that's super dope.
I'm going back to my Airbnb. I'm like, okay, you know what? Last night was a pretty late night. I'm just going to chill today. Then I get another phone call from like the same people. They're like, yo, come to the studio. I'm like, I'm there, So then I go there and Anderson .Paak is there. You know what I mean? So then, we fast forward and like they're setting up all these instruments. They're setting up a Rose and a bass and everything. And what
year was this, by the way?
That's a really good question. I can't remember exactly when it happened. It wasn't long after I started like producing full time though.
So somewhere between 2015, 2017?
I would say even sooner than that. Probably 2015, honestly. 2015? Probably. Okay. But yeah. So what happened? Yeah. So I was there. So I'm like, holy crap! Like this is about to happen right now.
Right.
Yeah, this is crazy. And then I get introduced to like, oh hey, this is Omos Keith. He worked on Channel Orange. I'm like, oh hey, So like so then Anderson .Paak comes into the room and I'm doing everything I can to just keep my cool. So I'm like, hey bro, I'm Kevin. So then he looked like he knew that I knew who he was, but he was just like, oh, what's up, man? AP. So I'm like, it was cool. So like
right.
we hung out for a bit, like we watched some like funny videos on YouTube, and then we just got to like playing. So then so I think it was my buddy Jeff and Omos were in the live room just like playing stuff like that and like just trying a bunch of different grooves, and then we all have headphones on like because everything's being recorded. All of a sudden my headphones I hear Anderson .Paak's voice. He's like, yo, that's hard. So then I'm like, okay. So then he just starts rapping over it.
As you're playing that groove.
As we're playing, it's all being recorded. So like as I'm playing the groove, like he's rapping over what I'm playing.
Right.
So it's like I'm listening to the record while making the record.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really.
Because they wanted to record everything live.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And like, those guys record like all kinds of music all the time. So it's not the kind of thing where like I would know when something like that would come out or if it would ever come out. But like that was like definitely like a pretty.
You never know. You look back on your files and be like, I remember this joint. Let me put this out.
Well, I just remember afterwards, like, we're putting our stuff away. Then Anderson comes into the room. He comes up to me, shakes my hand, like, kind of gives me a hug. He's like, yo, man, that was dope. I was like, word.
Wild, bro. That's wild.
It was crazy. So, that was a day later. So, like... It was like one of the craziest weeks ever, man.
Wow.
But then at that point, that amongst like a couple of other experiences were like the things that made me realize that, it's not necessarily just about, having certain facilitation on, your instrument of choice or whatever your craft is, but it's also just making sure that you not only bring who you are into that, but embracing, making sure you embrace who you are too. Right. You know what I mean? Because like whatever, like that's going to be the thing that makes what you do unique. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and I mean that's what's worked for me. I mean, so far.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Vices and Vultures and considering being a supporter of this project.
Even leaving a review on your preferred podcast platform goes a long way for us.
There is more information about this episode, as well as who we are, in the show notes.
This includes all of our social media links, so you can see us and not just hear us.
Vices and Vultures is brought to you by Aesthetic and is based in the great state of New York.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast for more episodes.
And tune in next time to Vices and Vultures.